Levi Onwuzurike is a player that, as a Detroit Lion, has never really had a fair shot. He's never really had a full healthy season to show what he could do in the NFL, despite dealing with constant injury, despite dealing with constant ridicule, despite dealing with just everything being thrown at him to derail his NFL career. He's a guy that just continues to work, continues to get back on the field, and continues to show flashes for the Detroit Lions. And today, we're going to take a look at Levi Onwuzurike, and we're going to take a look at what he's done through camp so far, what he's looking like for the roster, and why he very well could potentially finally put it all together in the 2024 season. Now, Levi Onwuzurike stands at 6'3", 288 pounds. He's the former 41st overall selection from the 2021 NFL Draft from the University of Washington. Now, at the time, this seemed like a very strong pick for Brad Holmes, a defensive tackle, pass rushing specialist from a big school that had solid production and could boost the Detroit Lions' interior pass rush. Taking a look at his collegiate career, Levi Onwuzurike totaled over 95 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, and 7 sacks over his 3 years as a Husky. And despite having a back injury that followed him from high school, Levi Onwuzurike never played less than 12 games a season, and throughout his 3 years, averaged 13 games a year and finished playing 39 collegiate games as a Washington Husky. Now, his game plays, his statistics, his tape, and his film on the field were all really, really strong. He looked like a great interior pass rusher, somebody that could apply a lot of pressure to the quarterback, and somebody that could be a massive boost to any defensive line in the league, which is why Brad Holmes decided to draft him with his second ever pick as the Detroit Lions general manager. And as a rookie, despite dealing with that back injury all year, Levi Onwuzurike toughed it out, played 16 games, totaled 35 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, as well as a sack on Thanksgiving Day versus the Chicago Bears. Now, after the season, Levi Onwuzurike went into surgery. He had back surgery where they seemingly fixed the problem. Doctors said that it was going to be okay. Levi himself and trainers and the coaching staff said that, hey, there are a lot of positive signs, and it seems like Levi could potentially be returning to the field and be 100% healthy. Unfortunately, Levi Onwuzurike missed the entirety of the 2022 season after coming into training camp with a little bit of hype, putting on a little bit of muscle, looking a little bit quicker, looking a little bit more fluid, looking a little bit less bothered by the back injury. But unfortunately, once the pads came on, Levi Onwuzurike suffered a season-ending injury in camp and did not play a snap of the 2023 season. However, he spent that season recovering. He spent that season getting back on the field. And by 2023, there was a little bit more hope again. Levi Onwuzurike was moving even better. He looked a little bit better, looked a little bit quicker, looked a little bit faster, looked like he maybe put on a teeny bit of weight. And in 2022 or 2023, Levi Onwuzurike played in 10 games for the Detroit Lions, where he had 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, as well as a sack on the season. Now, Levi Onwuzurike was used a lot more as a pass rushing specialist this past season. He wasn't used a lot on early downs and was used a lot on third down scenarios. But in the 2023 season, Levi Onwuzurike played in just 139 snaps. He did not have the largest role on the defense, but obviously did have some kind of an impact with multiple quarterback hits, a tackle for loss, and a sack. Levi Onwuzurike was actually graded the Detroit Lions' highest interior pass rusher on Pro Football Focus through the last 4 games of the NFL season. Now, that, of course, is due partially to Aleem McNeil not being healthy for a large majority of that time, but it is still worthy of note that Levi Onwuzurike did finish the season really strong, and then he played 32 defensive snaps in the playoffs, where, again, he had a couple of pressures and looked to be a positively impacting player on the Detroit Lions defense. Now, going into the 2024 season, stop me if you've heard this one before, but there's a lot of really good things to say about Levi Onwuzurike. Dan Campbell came out and specified Levi Onwuzurike in one of his press conferences, saying, yeah, of all the guys that look really good out here, Levi specifically is having a really good spring, and especially considering where he started last offseason or started from his NFL career. he's looking really, really good. And from everything we've heard from the media, everything we've heard from the players, the coaches, the reporters, and everybody involved, the back injury doesn't seem to be bothering Levi at all. It seems like that back injury is something that he has finally been able to put behind him. And 2 years removed from the back surgery, it seems like he could potentially finally be fully healthy for the Detroit Lions in 2024. Also, he added a little bit of weight. It was said that, I believe either by Dan Campbell or one of the reporters, that Levi Onuzurike is sitting around 300 pounds right now, which is about 15 pounds heavier than the weight he was drafted at and about 20 pounds heavier than he was listed at the end of the season a year ago. So he's put on a little bit of weight, sits right around that 300-pound mark right now. And according to Dan Campbell, like I said, he's having a really, really good spring. And when asked about it, Levi Onuzurike said, "The best way I can explain it is that everything is moving together as one. Speed to power, my whole body feels like it's all together." And that's something that just hasn't been the case in the past. Levi's talked about how his back injury has really, really limited his ability to play football. It's limited his ability to get on the field, and it's been a big detriment to his NFL career so far. But I do think there is a lot of reason to be excited about Levi Onwuzurike. And I know the pads aren't on yet. And I know that when the pads come on, Levi could potentially be another, training camp hype guy that never sees the field or never really lives up to the expectation. And I know that for the past 2 to 3 years, we've been talking about Levi Onwuzurike as a guy that, hey, could potentially finally put it all together, could potentially be healthy, could potentially be that pass rushing guy. But I do think this year there's a better shot than years prior. The back injury seems to be completely revealed. He seems to be 100% healthy. He's actually been able to constantly maintain a good workout schedule and put on some really good muscle and some really good weight this offseason, something he hasn't been able to do over the last couple of years. And again, the pads aren't on. It's something that, that is the next step that we're going to have to look at for Levi Onwuzurike. But just taking a look at what they've done through OTAs and minicamp so far, Levi Onwuzurike has multiple sacks, a lot of pressures with the second team defense, a massive pass rushing win rate so far throughout training camp and throughout OTAs. And there's a lot of reasons to be excited. Again, Pro Football Focus had him as Detroit's top interior pass rusher to end the season over the last month in 2023. His multiple sacks, his multiple pressures through camp are already really exciting, and he's only 26 years old. He's only been in the NFL for 3 seasons, and he's a player that is still well within his physical prime and can very much still make an impact on the defensive side of the ball. Now, Levi Onwuzurike likely will not be a star on this defense. I'm not going to clickbait the title. I'm not going to say, hey, Levi Onwuzurike is going to be a superstar. He's going to get 10 sacks next year, anything like that. But I do think they could potentially utilize Levi as a pass rushing specialist in a similar way to how the Detroit Lions used James Houston as an edge rushing specialist. I think they could put Levi in as that pass rushing guy that on 3rd and long, right? DJ Reader, a guy that historically isn't a great pass rusher, but is a phenomenal run defender. You take him off the field on 3rd and long, and easy and obvious pass rushing situations, and you let Levi and only McNeil go after the quarterback, or even Levi and maybe potentially Mekhi Wingo go after the quarterback as potentially the 2 best pass rushing specialist defensive tackles we have, and potentially that is a role for Levi. And while I don't think he's going to start, I don't think he's going to be, even potentially play half of the defensive snaps this year, probably closer to a quarter, if anything. I do think that Levi Onwuzurike could have a positive impact on this team. I do think that on 3rd down, Levi can get some pressure. I do think that on 3rd down, Levi can be a positively impacting player. And even if he only plays 200 to 300 snaps this season, if he plays in every single game, gets in on, 10, 15 snaps a game from the defensive side of the ball, I think Levi could finish with 4 to 5 sacks this season. I think he could be a solid interior pass rusher this season for the Detroit Lions. And it might not be astronomical numbers. It might not be numbers you'd even want to necessarily see out of your former 2nd round pick. And in his last year, in his contract season, it might be a little disappointing for the ceiling and for the expectation and for the hope to only be 4 to 5 sacks. But considering everything that's happened so far, considering everything that Levi has had to work through and everything that Levi Onwuzurike has had to go through, I think 4 to 5 sacks would be a positive turning point for his career, potentially earn him a 2nd contract, and potentially finally carve out a role in 2024. But with all of that being said, that is all for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about Levi Onuzurike. Do you think he can finally put it together and stay healthy? Or do you think it is yet another year of the Levi hype train just to not leave the station? I'd be very curious to you guys have to say. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you all so very much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions.